The Gregorian calendar's cruelest trick is placing the new year right in the dead center of winter. The time of year that you're most likely to feel motivated to eat healthy foods also coincides with most of the best produce being about as in season as Jinkos at Fashion Week. Around this time of year, the only seasonal foods seem to be rich indulgences meant to serve as hibernation fuel. So fight back against the comestible shadow realm that is winter by roasting squash. Gather and slice one or a small variety of honey nut, delicata, or acorn squash, maybe even a couple sweet potatoes. These are all tender-skinned vegetables that don't need to be peeled, but you could just as well use an armor-plated butternut and skin it first. Toss these around with enough sesame oil to barely coat everything and arrange them on a big sheet pan. These can roast at 450 Fahrenheit for 30 minutes with a flip and turn halfway through. While those roast, I will make a pretty easy glaze, so just combine equal parts melted or softened butter, white miso, and maple syrup. I'll call this about 2 tablespoons each. If you make too much, you could always drizzle the excess onto the finished dish before serving, or reserve it and use it for maple miso roasted salmon some other day. I know I started this lesson with a message of health, and you'd be right to notice that a glaze made mostly out of butter and syrup isn't exactly a celery stick. I justify the indiscretion by acknowledging that a thin shellacking is all each piece needs, but you can apply as much or as little as you care to. But if you're really going to skimp on the glaze, add some extra miso first. This fermented soy paste is the only contributor of salinity since those squash pieces are unsalted. So if you stick with equal parts of each glaze component and don't use much of it, you'll find the final dish lacking in salt. So these have been going for about 15 minutes on each side, and they have a good amount of color on them. The last step is to brush on some glaze and put them back in the oven for 10 minutes. Please keep in mind that maple syrup is sugar, and sugar burns quickly, so keep an eye out. You can garnish these with sesame seeds and slivered green onions, and then they're done. Enjoy them at any point of the indulgence spectrum, be they as a side for fatty braised meats, or as the sweet fortification of a shredded kale salad with goat cheese, pecans, and pumpkin seeds. Roasting a big batch of squash gives you larder fodder for days, so even though the New Year, New Me honeymoon month has come to a close, you'll have ready-to-eat veggie fuel for whatever you do, whether it's exercise, loafing around, or making the shortest video that you can just in time to avoid fading into obscurity for one more month. Got a blast!